apple's gross.
What is up, guys? Michael back, coming at you again with another episode. So I just got to Edinburgh, Scotland. Haven't seen my study abroad video. Go check that out somewhere over here. That's why the background looked different. It's not as fun, not all those shoes in the background. My mom's house, but you know, I got a single, so I'm happy. But I should have another video coming out soon talking about what it's actually like studying abroad, giving you some good clips, things I've taken so far. So I finally have a little bit of time just to sit down, make a good old video. I've pretty much been walking like 10 miles a day. So much stuff to do, so much, all orientation stuff, very cool. But you'll see that in another video in the future. But my computer is literally being a jet engine right now. I don't know if you can hear it. This video is going to be primarily ultimate UCSD survival guide. I'm going to have a bunch of links, well, you know, time links in the description for the different topics I'm going to be talking about. So what am I going to be talking about? First, the 6 college system, because it's very confusing, and the housing situations we got there. Talk a little bit about GEs, the structure of UCSD's academics, social life, very important. The overall difficulty of UCSD, bad parking at UCSD. What? Spoilers. Majors just in general if you're unsure, and then meal plans is what I've got so far. Oh, if you want to skip around a bit, if you want to pause the video, have the time links in the description below. The reason I wanted to do this video is because being at Edinburgh for a little bit, I've seen the differences in the, I guess, UK sort of education system and the education system in the US. So it let me reflect a little bit on different university lives and how they're not usually the same, and UCSD is definitely a case of that. So without further ado, I'm trying to practice my accent, but it is not good. No, that's a Borat accent. It is a very nice. All right, again around. Let's get going here. Right. Also, this episode's border is Price Center of UCSD's campus. You can get those delicious Subway sandwiches. Not that good. But that Panda E though. That Panda E though? Panda E. I used to not like Panda Express, but stuff hits different, my friends. All right, let me look at my notes here. Apologies if I'm not looking at the camera non-stop. I have an absolute ton written down, and I'm absolutely exhausted from the 9-hour time change. Or 8-hour time change. So the 6 college system divided into 6 colleges, sort of like the houses of Hogwarts. So I'm just gonna run through the 6 and give you their, you know, like broad goals. I pulled all of this from Wikipedia, so you know, take it with you know, as you want to. So there's Revelle College, which is focused on developing the Renaissance scholar. So we'll talk about their GEs a little bit later, maybe on how they do that. Then we have the Thurgood Marshall College, which is focused on the culture of community involvement and multiculturalism. So into that stuff, maybe, you know, you want to transfer to Marshall College. Then we got Earl Warren College, which I believe many engineers go to. So theirs is the importance of living a balanced life and creating a balanced education. So also super broad, super helpful. John Muir College is the spirit of self-sufficiency and individual choice. Dude, this jet engine in front of me is extremely distracting. Eleanor Roosevelt College, definitely the best college, because that's what I was in. Becoming a global citizen, hence why I studied in New Zealand and Edinburgh, guys. You want to travel, you want to get a little bit cultured, definitely check out ERC, Eleanor Roosevelt College, highly recommend. And lastly, 6th college, they have not named yet, just called 6th, which is to create student scholars that's a dynamic, cutting edge, and well-versed in modern technology. Very nice. And currently, I believe 7th college being developed. Not sure where they're about yet, but if you're watching this video in the recent future, based on when I upload this, 7th college will most likely not be completed. So, okay, so how do these 6 colleges actually interact? So you're gonna be living with everyone from your college, because there's, you know, separated in like sections throughout the campus. So you'll have like one corner's ERC, you know, one corner's Muir, one corner's Warren, or corners Warren, and etc. So you live with everyone in your college, you see them around a lot, and you all take the same GEs. Now, what is a GE? GEs are general education requirements. So you take your general education requirements with the people in your college, and then you take your other classes, your major classes, with people from other colleges. So you get a nice bit of diversity. All right. So in terms of resident life, each college depends on the number of roommates you get. Sometimes you may get lucky and get put into an apartment. You know, that might not also be lucky because you might not get to meet a lot of people, or you just get put in a dorm. So for example, E or C, if you're in the dorms, you will have 2 roommates. So you will be most likely in a triple unless you get, you know, apply for a single, but you should definitely live with roommates. Really fun. As opposed to the UK, it's actually, and maybe some private universities in the US, I didn't know this, but in other universities, not UCSD, that would like the floors, you know, the suites can be co-ed. At UCSD, that is not the case. Girls and guys will not live in the same suite. So guys will live with guys, girls will live with girls, but they can live on the same floor, just not in the same suite or not in the same apartment. Whereas in Europe and other places and maybe some private universities, they can live co-ed typically. Okay, getting into GEs now, general education requirements. So these are just essentially designed to give people, you know, a little bit of basic understanding of just every subject. Some people like it, some people hate it. I liked it because taking a lot of computer science classes, a lot of math classes, sometimes I want a little bit of history in there. And that's what GEs provide. They give me a reason to get a little bit more cultured. I had to take French. Well, I didn't have to take French. I wanted to take French for my language requirement. So I like them as opposed to other places like in Europe. They usually just do, you only take major courses, but in the US and at UCSD, you have general education requirements. So if you want to pause the video here, I'm gonna just show pictures of the general education requirements for each college. So for Revell, here is their GE requirements. For Marshall, here's their GE requirements. For Warren, there's John Muir here, ERC right here, and 6 college GEs right here. Here. I don't actually know where I'm pointing. No, here. Better. That right here. So you may have heard that UCSD is a quarter system school. Now, what does that mean? Typically, most private universities, most universities are semester, meaning they have 2 semesters, about 15 weeks each. You'll get 2 sets of classes, and that you take a certain number of credits in those semesters. Where at UCSD, there's quarters. They're more like trimesters, fall, winter, and spring, which is like the full year, and then you have the optional summer classes, so that's why they say quarters. But each fall, winter, spring is 10 weeks, and then the summer is split into 2 summer sessions, each being of 5 weeks. So you still end up taking 30 weeks of instruction. You just get 3 sets of classes instead of 2, which I think is nicer because you could end up taking, although they're more condensed, you get to take more subjects, so you get a lot broader education, I think. So you will typically, if you're in a STEM class, you'll typically have like 2 midterms, so like 1 at week 4 and then like 1 at week 8. And then if it's a non-STEM class, you usually have 1 midterm at like week 5 or 6, and then all finals happen week 11. So it's the week after week 10, which is finals week. This is in addition to like all the other assignments, whereas like maybe some universities focus a lot on exams. Typically UCSD, like midterms probably only count for 20%, and then a final might count for 40%, and then the rest of, you know, the percentages, quick maths, are, you know, based on the other assignments. So if you're doing bad on one midterm, you can usually make it up by doing good on an assignment, showing up a lot, because sometimes attendance does count. One thing important is there is no study week before finals week. I know for other universities, they finish classes, then they have 1 week to study, and then they have their finals week. UCSD is different, so right after instruction ends, finals week is then. So, you know, don't think it's like another week after. Have your week 10, then finals week, and then, you know, vacation, you know, whatever break it is. So some people are a little bit worried about this, but since it's 10 weeks, there's actually less material on it. So I've honestly, for easier classes, I've finished midterms in like, or I've finished finals super fast. So if it's like, I've honestly had multiple choice finals, like 100 multiple choice, and they give you 3 hours for each final. And I finished some multiple choice finals in like 30 minutes. So it's generally less content because it's 10 weeks and not 15 as a semester school would be. Right. To address the elephant in the room, what's their social life like? They're really socially dead? Is he socially dead? Rip? No. I don't think it is. At UCSD, you have to kind of go out of your way, become social. Like, you'll meet people in the dorms, but once classes start and midterms start rolling around, people like get pretty antisocial. So there's a few things you can do. So Greek life, so sororities, do formal recruitment week 1 of fall quarter and sometimes they'll do informal recruitment in the winter and the spring. That's not every sorority, so some sororities only will do recruitment week 1 of fall quarter. So if you're interested in that, maybe go to that. And it's extremely formal. I don't know a ton about it, but now for guys, there's fraternity rush, which is the same as recruitment. They just say rush because it takes place over 1 week. So, and you feel rushed. So fraternity rush is, the official fraternity rushes are week 2, so the second week of both fall quarter and spring quarter. And then some fraternities, depending on how many members they have, might do an informal rush winter quarter, but most do not. So if you're planning on rushing, if you want to just wait and see how college is without a fraternity, maybe wait till spring. But if you want to get right into it, go for fall. And then clubs and sports teams typically recruit during the first 2 weeks. So if you want to join a club team, club sports team, a different club, there's a ton of them. You can read about that on UCSD's like student website. And that's another way to meet people. In addition to the people you'll meet in your dorms, don't totally rely on meeting people in classes, because generally in classes, people don't like to talk to each other, and some people don't even show up. So don't honestly rely on that. And I would say most people, what worked for me was just making friends with the people on your floor, in your dorm, your roommates, and then you just kind of expand and see where you want to go once you have, like, you know, a solid base of friends to go get food and stuff like that. Because again, you're all taking the same GEs, so you'll be in the same classes generally. So that's where a lot of the bonding comes from. Is UCSD actually super hard? It's not that hard. I don't think it is. I think it's just right. Sometimes it's just challenging enough, I think, without being impossible. So generally, the GE requirements are meant to be pretty easy. They're meant for freshmen and sophomores. So as long as you usually put in the effort, you know, again, depending on the college and your professor, usually can get a pretty good grade with just pretty much doing the work. Like your major level courses, they might actually be a little bit difficult, because I've heard that some of them are designed to weed out people that shouldn't be, you know, can't make it in that major if it's a really like competitive major. So those classes might be a little bit hard. Like if you have like intro level engineering classes, you might need to study a bit more for those than you do for your GEs, because GEs are usually just like work based and not really like, you don't really have to study too much for them. They're usually more memorization, whereas like other classes are like, I don't even know, not memorization and analysis maybe. I don't know what I'm looking for here. There are 2 types of classes that you'll primarily be focusing on. So there are lower division classes, so that's classes labeled like 1 through 99. So if you're in like CSE 11, for example, computer science and engineering 11, that's under division or lower division. That means it's typically taken in the first 2-ish years. And then upper division classes are numbered 100 to 199. So like CSE 110, which is software engineering. Lower division classes typically have like 200 plus students. I would say both are hard, lower division and upper division, depending on your major, but lower division are typically easier, upper division are typically harder. And upper division is usually for junior and seniors to enroll in, and you need to get a certain balance. So what you can do is you can go onto a thing called, if you look it up, it's called UCSD degree audit. And it'll basically list all of your requirements. So you'll see some are listed as lower division and some are listed as upper division. You'll need to satisfy both requirements. All of the upper division classes have lower division requirements, so that's kind of why it's split up like that. Now going into the dreaded parking situation. Parking is not great at UCSD. It's really not. So living on campus, you typically don't need parking unless you have a car. So if you're a freshman, you should know that you can't park at UCSD unless you have like a written notice that says you were allowed to. That's just for freshmen. So if you have enough units, like enough AP units to be a sophomore, you can buy a parking permit even though it's your first year. So that's a good thing. So if, let's say after fall quarter, you have enough units combined with the number of AP credit that you're considered a sophomore, then you can buy a parking permit for the other 2 quarters. It's about $700 per year. It's a bit pricey, and that doesn't guarantee you like a parking spot. You still have to drive around and looking for specific student parking spots, and it's a little bit annoying. Another thing you can do is you can park at Glider Port. That's what I usually do if you live off campus, or if you live on campus and have a car, because they have free parking there. It's a little bit of a walk. It's about a mile from campus, or yeah, about probably a little bit under a mile, maybe like 0.8 miles to get to campus. It's a walk. So you sort of have to account for that, and then it's also not on campus, so it might be a little bit more risky if you don't want your car getting broken into. That's never happened to me, and I don't know people that has happened to, but again, it's not UCSD properties, so take that as you will. You can also take the bus if you live off campus, or some other metro. They're putting in a what is it called, a tram? There's just a lot of construction going on. They're putting in a tram. So when that's up eventually, I'm not sure when that is, to be able to take that. All right, moving down the list. Majors. I'm assuming some of you have majors already declared and some probably don't. You know, you're undeclared. So you can basically switch between majors as long as they're not capped. So what does capped actually mean? It means that it's such a popular major that they have to restrict the number of people that can go into that major. I think most STEM fields are capped, most engineering, stuff like that. Most of those are capped. Not all of them, but most of them are capped. So you can read about which ones are capped on UCSD's major finder. So if you were admitted to say like an engineering major, and then you decided to change your major to, I don't know, business or something, like international business, which is not capped, and then you try to switch back to engineering, might be a little bit hard because that major is capped. The way you get into a capped major is you have to satisfy a certain GE requirement, or not GE requirement, GPA requirement. You then have to basically apply, and then you get put into this sort of lottery system where like the highest performers, you know, get chosen based on the number of slots in the lottery. So the better you do, the better GPA you have, the higher the chance that you get into the major. I think it also has to do with what classes you've taken. So if you've taken a lot of classes for that major already, I think there's a good chance you might get in, but don't take my word for that. I haven't switched majors. But if you're a non-STEM major and the major you don't want is capped, you can kind of just switch between them. And then for minors, there's nothing to worry about there. I don't think there's any cap for those. You can, whatever interests you, take a minor. Quite fun. You can balance your GPA like that. That's what I do. Like an entrepreneurship minor, math CS major. So math CS classes are really hard. Entrepreneurship classes are really easy. So like gets me a good little medium going on. And then lastly, we're going to talk about meal plans a little bit. So for most people that live on campus, you know, maybe unless you have an exception, you have to have some sort of a dining plan. You can choose which option, like how much money you want to put on it. I think the most popular is like the $2,700. And the dining halls are like dining halls. They're not like gourmet food. UCSD's dining halls are not super amazing. And one thing that you should note is that you pay per item, not per swipe. So at other universities, you might have heard, or maybe where your friends are going, they pay for a number of swipes per day. So they can swipe in, take as much food as they want, eat it there, and then leave. UCSD is you pay per item. So you can grab this item, you pay for it, and then you could just leave with the item, which you typically can't do with swipes, and leave with it. But usually that's per item is annoying if you're eating a lot. You might get your money's worth with swipes, but UCSD, all of the dining halls are based on per item basis. Also in Price Center, they do not accept dining dollars there, which is the dining plan. There's two different types of UCSD currency. There's Triton cash, which is like basically money. It's like your parents give you Triton cash if they want, and it sort of restricts you to spending it only on campus. Every place on campus accepts Triton cash. And then there's dining dollars, which is the meal plan. Dining dollars can only be used at dining halls, where Triton cash can be used at Price Center, where the Panda E is, Subway is, where the Starbucks is. They accept Triton cash, where the market, the Sunshine Market in Price Center, whereas only dining halls accept dining dollars. So there's two currencies basically. I never use Triton cash. I just use regular cash, real money, instead of like buying Triton cash, which is just like a gift card for UCSD sort of. If you live off campus, I highly suggest you don't get a dining plan. It is so much cheaper. Cook for yourself. You get a great skill. UCSD's food is not worth the money you pay for it. It's just super convenient if you live on campus and don't know how to cook. And cook, save your money. What you can also do is you can sell dining dollars between people. So say you have like a bunch of dining dollars left at the end of the year. You can try to sell those for a certain ratio. So you might say like 2 for 1, 2 dining dollars for $1 US, or 3 for 1, something like that. And people are always looking to buy more. So you can do that. Type it in on your little Facebook page. So there is that. So I think I hit most of the points that I wanted to hit, outlining what UCSD is sort of like in a bunch of different fields. If you guys found it useful, again, my name is Michael, MyQL. I make college videos, college advice videos, funny videos that I feel like making. Look out for some other videos I've got going on. If you like the video, consider hitting that subscribe button, that like button, tuning into another video. See you guys in the next video. Absolutely, thank you so much for looking at this one. Comment down below if you found this useful. Get excited for your years at UCSD. It's very fun. See you all in another video. Bye bye.